To our main story. It's just beginning to brew on Facebook right now. Gossip Girl star Kelly Rutherford's 6-year-long, very bitter custody battle over her 2 kids hit a major roadblock recently. A federal court denied her request requiring her children to move back to the United States. Her
8-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter have been living with their dad, Daniel Gersh, in France since 2012, and his U.S. visa was revoked. And because of that, a court decided in order for their children to have equal time with their parents, the kids would live with their father in Europe while Rutherford flew back and forth.
Which, as we all know, is not a cheap flight. Joining us now, celebrity family law attorney Randy Kessler, author of Divorce, Protect Yourself, Your Kids, and Your Future, and show business editor for DailyMail.com, Natalie Trombetta. Natalie, I want to go to you first. Daniel Gersh is a German businessman. His work visa was removed, and he can no longer come back to the United States, and he blames Kelly Rutherford for this. Why is it her fault?
Yeah, look, this couple went through an incredibly bitter split. She was pregnant at the time with their second child, and we understand that she didn't notify him of the birth. So it was pretty ugly. We understand that at the time her legal team contacted the State Department and made some allegations against him that led to his US visa being revoked. But obviously, ultimately, that has backfired.
Randy, this California judge, he ruled in favor of Gersh, shall we say, and said it was in the best interest of the kids for them to live in Europe with the father because his visa had been revoked, like I said earlier, and that Rutherford could fly back and forth. These kids are American citizens. Randy, was this judge setting a dangerous precedent?
You know, I don't think he's setting a precedent, and I've talked to judges across the country. Judges don't like handling custody cases. They'd rather handle a death penalty case because the judge has to decide what's best for these little children. And this judge saw, smelled, could see and sense the parties, and he decided the best result was for dad to have custody and hopefully mom could go visit. There's no right answer. There's no perfect answer. Custody cases are terribly difficult on everybody.
Natalie, People magazine is reporting that the dad promises that the kids will not set foot back in the United States now. Do you know anything more about that?
Well, look, obviously, you know, that has left Kelly absolutely devastated. She's finding really hard to have these kids brought back to the US. But at this point, it looks like she really has run out of options.
And let's get to that, Randy. I mean, you know, Natalie's saying she's run out of options. Is that true, or does she still have some recourse at this point? She's practically bankrupted herself fighting this battle.
Well, one of the nice things about custody situations is they don't have the concept of res judicata, meaning once you have an order, it doesn't have to last forever. But the problem is you can't go back to the original order. What you have to do is wait until things change. If circumstances change where the children are suffering or being harmed or the parties are such different positions, then maybe she can have what we call a modification. But you can't change things just because it's sour grapes or I think the original order was unfair. The children have been there and been with dad for a long time. It's going to take a major change in the situation before she's got another chance. But life is long. Things change.
But, Randy, if it's true that Rutherford is running out of money and she's nearly bankrupt herself flying back and forth, couldn't that in and of itself be a modification allowing unequal time for both parents?
Well, that's a practical modification. You know, you can only do what you can afford to do. But the bottom line is where there's a will, there's a way. And people will spend their whole lives, save all their money to have an extra day with their child. So, you know, if the situation changes, meaning the children are suffering or the children are not being treated well or dad becomes some horrible, you know, person that gets, you know, convicted or accused of some horrible crime, then she can go back. For now, I think she's got to play nice and beg him and say, I want to be a part of these kids' lives. They live with you. Let me come there. Let's work together. The children will need both parents no matter how bad they fight.
Randy, people were pointing out that because the kids are U.S. citizens, there's a constitutional right issue. And when I say people, I mean Rutherford's team, for them to reside in the United States. But realistically speaking, given that they're under 18, they are not the ones who are making that decision. And because primary custody has been given to Daniel Gersh, he can realistically move them anywhere in the world that he wants to, so long as their standard of living and their happiness is not going to be severely impacted by that. Is that correct?
Right. Parents have a right to raise their children where they want. A married couple can move wherever they want. So can a divorced couple. And whoever has primary custody gets to make that choice. Now, the problem is, had he been able to live in America, who knows what he would have done. But he's sort of got an excuse. I didn't take the children away from her. The judge said I should have custody, and I have to live somewhere else. I'm picking a country that I think is best for the family.
And he's claiming that the reason that he has to live somewhere else is, of course, because of actions by Kelly Rutherford at this point. And now the courts overseas. Yes, that's what they're alleging.
Yeah.
And now that he's overseas, it's going to be a court overseas that realistically needs to make this
nonetheless,
decision.
it's still really an upsetting and confusing situation.
Very much
We're
so.
going to have more on this at 3 p.m. Eastern. Our Nancy Grace joins us to give us a preview for her live interview with Kelly Rutherford at 8 tonight. Natalie Trebetta and Randy Kessler, thank you both for joining us.